Started.
Okay, there you go.
Hey, thank you, Dawn, for having us. We
Thank
appreciate you and the platform you give us. Melissa, Debbie, you on?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's just get into it. We've only got an hour. How are we going to start? Debbie, you want to start? You got a hot topic today?
I got a hot topic today.
Ooh, are you hot-headed too?
Yeah, I'm running a fever like 101, but that's okay. Because I got a phone call today about our gentleman who is a schizophrenic sitting in Santa Rosa in the mental health department, who has been in Lake CI for, he's been incarcerated 9 years and 7 months, and he's been a schizophrenic, not stable, but twice. And now that he's went to Santa Rosa, I guess he's completely cured. I guess they give him a miracle drug, because today he signed a paper stating he didn't want his mother on his medical records or see her. So
we're talking about Gemma, right?
Gemma's son, Christopher Rodriguez.
There's books, there's everything regarding him. We've talked to her. So what avenue is CBI taking with that, or is CBI, have you figured out what to do, or is it up in the air?
CBI's been calling the health department in Tallahassee since Friday, called again today, still haven't heard anything. Trying to get Christopher out on an early release for medical reasons. It's a 167, 467, I don't have my book in front of me, .149. There is a place in there that says, as an inmate whose medical condition will never change,
right?
They can take him and put him in a mental hospital.
And he's close to getting out, isn't he?
Right, December 20th. So we're trying to work on getting him the mental help he needs. His mother works in a hospital in Miami, and they have a psychiatric ward, and they're willing to take him. All we have to do is get the health people to okay it. And
so we need the health department on team. Let's get Christopher into a mental facility.
Yeah.
But what's this about documentation now, supposedly, that he's not wanting to see his mama?
I talked to his classification officer today, and he politely told me that Christopher asked to sign documents to take his mother off his medical stuff, and that he did not ever want to see her again.
So what can we do, Debbie? Let's stop for a second. What can we do if somebody's at home right now, if they can hear our voices and they're within our reach? What can we do collectively from a seat who hears this? What can someone do to help Christopher and Gemma?
The only way anybody can help is get the health department to say it's okay
for this early release into a mental facility.
Right.
For Christopher.
And the only place that can do that is the health department.
Okay.
Now, I did talk to a senator's office today, and they told me legally nobody can do anything because of the HIPAA laws and stuff. The senator's office can actually do a welfare check, but that's all they can do. So it has to come from Tallahassee. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, or the governor, and we know how that goes.
Yeah. Well, let's keep Gemma in our prayers.
Jones. I don't know.
And Debbie, what's the email address if anybody wanted to email you regarding a situation that we could get, find out what needs to be done if they have a mentally ill inmate that is closer to release and now things are occurring that it seems uneasy, just not right, you're denied visitation. just crazy things happening, how can somebody reach you best?
They can email me at Debbie Sapp, all lowercase, dot, USCBI. No, wait a minute. Debbie Sapp, USCBI.org. I'm sorry.
Okay. Was that, you mean Debbie Sapp at USCBI.org?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to excuse me. I'm kind of out of it.
I got your back, girlfriend.
Okay, thank you.
Melissa, what hot topic you got on your plate today in Arizona?
Well,
do you have anything?
Jody, let's talk about we're pretty fired up because we have that former Sheriff Joe running for senator.
Pink underwear guy.
Yeah, the pink underwear man. He's Donald Trump partisan. He belongs in jail. He's quite a criminal. Fortunately, there are 12 other people running against him.
12?
Yes. We're having there's a lot of people stepping up that would like to be in the Senate office, we're finding here in Arizona. And this is marvelous news. I'm finding that a lot of people in Arizona are interested in prison reform. We have a big thing because of those swamp coolers. And, Jody, the email that you produced earlier from a woman in prison informing her mother of the water being shut off is also another huge issue here, because with those swamp coolers, with no water, that means just dry, hot air going into prison.
Right.
Can I ask a question? What did this gentleman go to jail for?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I meant to ask that, too. Thank you, Debbie.
Yeah, I want to know, The pink underwear guy.
Right. What did he go to jail for? Prison or whatever?
Well, he was taken down on a lot of charges. Basically, the FBI was investigating him. I am not certain about the final thing that did it. It seems to me it was just a long line of things that came out during the course of the 8 years the FBI spent in Arizona looking into him.
Wow.
Numerous things I've read in the paper include when his guards were killing inmates, he elected to give them a raise. He was caught using the sheriff helicopters to transport his relatives to Disney World in Florida, where you ladies are. We're closer to California, Disneyland. He's flying his relatives to Disney World. The corruption we went through with him being sheriff was frightening. He pulled stuff that really shook this state up as far as, wow, what can someone in power really do? Oh, you don't want to know. And I think one look at his face, he's got this mean, I want to kill the world look all the time. I'm not worried about it because I think he has made so many people so angry in this state, forget it.
Yeah, well, they also have a woman in New Mexico that is against him too, right?
Yes, she has a son incarcerated here in Arizona, and the private prison system here, that seems to be the biggest issue, as we all know. We've got the private prisons for profit, and they are getting away with numerous violations. They don't care. The only
turning the water off, not paying the bill.
Yes, rotten food, all kinds of things. Sexual harassment from the guards. It's just amazing what they're pulling, and the human rights they keep taking away. It's all about profit. The judges and the, President Trump and all the senators are involved in this. They're the ones sharing in the profit. And the interesting thing is, we have that Partnership for a Drug-Free America. Well, they are funded by the pharmaceutical companies. The whole picture is getting ridiculous. And I am predicting that once we start exposing what those private prisons are getting away with, the whole thing is going to fall like dominoes.
Yeah, but the state prisons, like all of it's in the news.
Yeah, but
it's in the news. It's out there. Nobody's doing anything about it. There hasn't been something come about in I don't know how long that has massively changed or overhauled the prison systems. What is it going to take for everything from your medical issues, your mental health issues, to your gang issues, to your corruption of the guards issues, to the contraband issues, when it's system after system and it seems like the systems are just working against everything?
Well, I'd like to add to that. My perspective is a little bit different. I'm noticing all these groups that are popping up. 2 years ago, I don't really think we had as many people aware. I think it's steadily getting worse. And as that happens, especially here in Arizona, I'm seeing more and more articles in the news, for instance. More and more people are stepping up to complain. It seems to me a lot of people are hooking up. I myself became active. I'm not the only one that I'm discovering out there. So I'm willing to keep exposing and making people aware, because I believe it's the sector of the public that don't care, that are not aware. Well, prisoners belong there. It doesn't involve me. They're the ones we need to convince. And I have heard, well, they don't want to hear it and yada, yada. Well, sooner or later it's going to involve someone in their family at the rate it's going. It's not funny.
Yep.
Sooner or later everybody is going to care. So there. I'm not giving up. I don't care who wants to hear me or not. We have to expose this for what it is. The biggest scam. It's a public fraud, and they're using our loved ones that are doing silly little things. I'm going to end it by saying it was said best the other day by a warden of a prison that said, we need to remember there are people that belong there. Those are the people we are afraid of. But these ones we're mad at that we need to restructure their lives, retrain, we got to put them somewhere else.
Right. Who was that said that? Do you remember?
He was a warden of a prison, and honestly, I have seen so many of those documentaries this week. I don't want to say which one. I'm thinking Ohio. I might be wrong. Anyway,
and they're having so much trouble in Ohio right now. Oh my gosh, it's really going down in Ohio, I noticed.
If we could just get the rest of America to adopt that thought. We are putting people in prisons for a profit, and this is not working out. The rest of us in society need to beware. Sooner or later, these people get released in our community. Mm-hmm. And if they're being angered and aggravated and poked at like a lion with a stick while it's in the cage, I think we as the public need to know and beware.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree. I have a hot topic in my area. A car of kids in a flourishing area of wealth and spending. The car was shot at. 3 of the individual males died, all around the ages of 19 and 20. The 4th one was trying to shield his little brother and was shot 8 times and put into the hospital, released. Lawyer currently stating in the news, that media that I've seen so far, says that he needs to be back in the hospital because someone stomped him. Where that came from, I don't know. Also, he was not caught with a gun during the murder, I guess, where they just shot up the car he was in. He didn't have a gun on his person. He did end up at his probation officer's office asking for to be granted permission to leave the area so that he could feel protected. He didn't feel safe. He was just in a car that was shot up. His brother died. His 2 friends died. Bad scenario. Ends up in jail saying violation of probation, that he had a gun or something to do with a gun. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't know why anybody would fathom putting this kid in jail. If he needs to be in jail, it shouldn't be in the city near where this occurred. I mean, Clay County, he's in Clay County now, which is pathetic because that's just, if there's a gang after him, they're saying there was gang activity. He's a young aspiring rapper, I understand. How a gang ended up shooting at him, I don't know details. I do know I don't believe he belongs in jail. That's just my opinion. But if he does...
Why didn't his probation officer help him out?
It seems to me, in my understanding, that piece is left out, so you're led to assume, and you know what that means. But I will assume that he ended up in jail following speaking to his probation officer.
Well, why didn't they put him in protective custody somewhere?
I understand he's in confinement. Maybe that's their protective custody.
Maybe that's what they use.
If he's in confinement. Yeah, he might be in confinement, but if he's in need of medical care, my concern is what medical care is he going to receive?
He's not going to receive it in there, that's for sure.
No, I think it'd be in the best interest of the public for him to receive medical help. And, that granted, okay, you can't leave the country. If you're going to go here, we need to know where you are, probationary thing, because he was just a lone survivor of a triple homicide. He was not caught with a gun. Counseling. He was not seen shooting anyone. We know that these kids were college kids. They were Orange Park, Clay County kids. We know they were 19, 20-year-old kids. The word gang is thrown out there. Is that also involved? Well, I haven't ever seen any of them in the paper myself. It doesn't mean they weren't in the paper for doing something illegal. I don't know what he's really on probation for, but if he's on probation, how does that compare to a triple homicide is my question. Why is he in jail and no one is considering the fact that there's a murderer out there? You don't know who the murderer is. He says he doesn't remember or doesn't know. People are on social media saying, oh, he's lying, he has to know who shot him. I mean, I don't know all the details, but it just sounds wrong.
Well, when you have somebody coming up and shooting your damn car, you're not going to see who they are.
Exactly. And what I don't get,
you're trying to get away.
This is the kicker. This I don't get. He goes to jail, and the first thing they do, he had the big funny-looking dreads, like, oh, what's that famous for the crazy
they shaved
braids?
His head, didn't they?
Yeah, they shaved his head. I mean, there's people who has religion. That's why they have long hair. I don't know what his religion is. I'm just throwing that out there. But why would you take him to jail and the first thing you do is shave his head? What's that purpose? Is that some Samson shit? I mean, really.
That's because he might have lice or bugs or something. I don't know. They
well, maybe maybe they're trying to avoid that. I don't know. I've just never heard of such a thing.
Right, me either.
So, with that being said,
DOC covers their tracks. Police officers cover their tracks. And it's sad. It's sad. And people just sit back and like, it's okay, I'll sit here and bitch on this group or that group. But that's about as far as that goes.
Right.
Honey, I don't want to bitch. I don't want to complain. I want to do something.
You want to take action.
I want action. It is time for action. November's right around the corner. And if anybody knows, that's when you get your stuff done. Because everybody's going, vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. Well, yeah, I can vote for you, but this is what you got to do. Doesn't mean you have to vote for them after it's done, but it's just the idea of it. That's when you get most of your stuff done. Laws need to be changed.
Maybe it's time to go be a lobbyist. Isn't that the way you get laws changed? But heck, if you can't get them to follow the law, like in Florida with the visitation schedule, I mean, what good is a law if they don't follow it? Or if there's no consequence when they don't?
I'm glad you brought that up. I am glad you brought that up. Now, I have read all these institutions that's closed down because of contraband, and it's been happening like during the week, okay?
Right.
Well, we all know that a lot of that contraband comes from inside, but yet you're going to take the inmates and punish them for something that the guards do or the inside workers do. How is that even right to lock them down? One place was locked down and was told that they got 15 minutes. They could either take a shower, make a phone call, or get something to eat. What is that about? And then you have a guy in Lake City who escaped with a gun, but they still had visits. Now, in my mind, if there's somebody there with a gun, why are you going to have visits? Aren't you afraid somebody might get shot?
Just wow.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Debbie, literally, that's all I can say right now. Just
I know.
Wow.
It just blows my mind.
And
our society thinks that's right. Our society thinks that's good. Our society is messed up.
Do you either of you have a suggestion on what we could do sitting at home, thinking about this young kid that needs safety? Yes, jail, I don't know about that, but what can we do to help his situation? Who would we write? The mayor, the governor? Who would be your best, the state's attorney's office, public defender's office? What do you think?
All the above.
All of the above?
Everybody. I mean, writing everybody.
And what type of recommendation would you give for somebody to convey in a letter or something?
Melissa, that's on you.
Pardon me, what was that, Jody?
What suggestion? Maybe I could come up with something, I don't know, off the top of my head. I'm concerned about this young man who just suffered the loss of his brother. He was trying to protect and shield.
He needs counseling for one thing.
I think he needs a hospital, his lawyer says. He needs to be in the hospital.
He needs to be in the hospital, even if they put him in a psych ward where there's not bad psych people in there, but he could get some kind of counseling. Because if somebody got shot in front of me, I definitely would need counseling.
Right.
Definitely. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, what's this young man going to turn around to be watching that and then being accused of something that he may not have done? Because we don't know the whole story. But the point of the matter is the boy reached out for help, and what did they do to him?
Exactly. He was trying to do the right thing. So to me, I'm sorry, somebody trying to do the right thing, going straight to their probation officer saying, I'm trying to seek help. I want safety. Can I have permission to go here? He was reporting. He was requesting help, and he was denied that help. That's how I feel. He was denied help and thrown in jail to suffer. Why suffer more? He is suffering great loss. He was in a tragic situation.
Right.
No matter how it came about, he was not caught with a gun. He was not seen shooting. I haven't read or heard anything in the news or ever seen this boy's picture before, to my knowledge, that he has done something that is anywhere near deserving of what he's going through right now. The punishment of feeling I didn't shield my brother, because that was the last social media. I saw his, I think it was Instagram, his IG, and he was saying, I'm sorry I couldn't save you, bro, or, something out for his brother. And that was before he was jailed, right after the incident. So, come on, he was checking in. And this is what we do. This is okay with who? It's sad to me. I just don't get it. So I think you're on the money, Debbie, when you say, okay, he needs to be in a mental facility so that he can get mental health treatment. He needs probably some physical health treatment. He just got shot 8 times. He probably needs to be monitored. Him being in a cell in confinement is probably the last place he should be. Agreed?
I agree. And how much you want to bet that he don't come up dead? And I hate
that's
to say
my
that.
worry.
That's
what
I
I pray
really
not
hate
to happen.
Say that, but it's going to be, well, it's an accident. Blah 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 blah.
Ba 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 ba.
Bunch of crap.
Yes.
Bunch of crap.
May I say something?
Yeah.
We have enough information. We have enough details to expose that whole thing, and that's what will happen. I just want to say these private prisons are not held accountable for anything to anybody. They're getting away with this. It's an epidemic. We need to expose these things. We need to talk about these things. We need to educate the public that prison is not what you think it is. You're being lied to. What's going on behind those walls is horrible. And Christopher is one of many examples of the abuse that prisoners are suffering, especially mentally ill prisoners all over the country.
Amen to that,
we
Melissa.
need to expose these conditions, because the more people that know, the faster we can put a stop to it. Most people do not believe this is happening.
They don't even know.
Word out.
I promise they don't know, Melissa. I promise they do not know. And what my favorite quote from a movie, oh God, Ice Cube said it best. He said that either they don't know, don't show, don't care, something to that effect. And really, that's how I feel. That famous quote he has from that movie, I forget what, Menace to Society or Boys in the Hood, one or the other. He had that famous quote. Mm-hmm. And I always think that either they don't know, they don't show, they don't care, whatever that saying was. I can't
they don't
remember
know.
exactly. I want to look it up now.
How should they care? They don't know.
Right.
They should care because their taxes are paying for that shit, and their taxes are going to go higher when stuff happens. So
that's right.
Thank you.
That's the bottom line.
Good
That's
point.
the bottom line.
That is a good point, because ain't that the truth. If you remind them it's going to hit their pocket, especially when they get sued. I mean, everybody's got a lawsuit for excessive force. You got this racial over here. You got this wrongful this. You got this incarcerated for 23 years.
I mean,
their money's going out the window.
But that's why DOC has to cut the budget, because they're paying all these lawsuits. Well, why don't you take care of the problem and you won't have to pay the lawsuits?
Exactly. My point exactly.
I think a bunch of us mothers should go sit in a TV station place and sit there until somebody hears us and make a big stink, because that's the only way it's going to come out.
Well, now that puts you up there for, what do you call it? Their favorite game. Retaliation.
It's not called retaliation. It's called karma, and your ass is dust. That's what it's called. You've got to be accountable. You got to be held accountable for what you do. That is the American way, period. It's called justice.
You are right. But why do we keep seeing people getting away? Police officers getting away. I saw a pregnant woman get punched in the face by a police officer and thrown on her stomach.
And her mouth was bleeding. I saw that.
Oh, my God. Did that take me back, Melissa, to a time in my life? Or what?
Oh, I know it did.
Let's talk about that right there, because that freaked me out. I haven't been able to sleep hardly since I saw that video. That's been in the last few days.
Yep, I'm
they
sure
would punch a pregnant woman in the face and throw her on her belly, clearly pregnant. For what reason would someone have to do that to a woman? What justifies that? She didn't have a gun.
Because they can. That's the bottom line. Because they can, and nobody can stop them.
Mm-hmm.
Because we, the people, sit back and just go, yeah, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, whatever. When something happens, like visitations, let's take that for an example. That's just an example. If they shut the visitation down, we have how many? 97,000 prisoners?
We've got going on 100,000 in Florida.
Right. Now take that number and they shut the visitations down. How many of those mothers or the loved ones will be out there complaining and bitching and carrying on and making a big stink and holding signs and when they could have stopped it to begin with?
Well, this is my thing. What would possess them to think that that's okay to do so that you can double your crowd on actual visitation day when it's your turn? So now you don't have the room because you already are to capacity. Most prisons are on visitation day. They're not overly. I've never been in a place where it was overly crowded except for on a Christmas or the day after a holiday or something. I think it was 1 or 2 times it seemed like it was getting a little tight, but the outdoors was generally open.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Last Sunday, not this past one, the Sunday before that, my husband and I went to see my son. When we got up there, went right in, didn't have a problem. My friend and I went this past Sunday, and I had to sit outside with a bunch of people for at least 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I've done that.
I've never done that. And
I've done it for up to an hour, Debbie.
Oh, that was just, and then I get in there and the woman says to me, can you move to the right for a minute? And then she calls for my son. And then she's sitting there talking to the other guard. Why, we're standing there for a good 10 minutes before she patted us down to let us in. And I'm standing there thinking, all righty then. And then we're in there. And then, your guards come around about count time. And after count time, they just kind of hang out in the visiting area, bullshitting, doing whatever they want to do. There's nobody out front. I mean, they're all right there doing absolutely, positively nothing. Now,
I've
you
seen
got
some gardens.
4 or 5 of them in there, and you got 1 outside.
Right. You got a few people working, and then you got several that are doing nothing. Maybe they're watching, maybe they're gardening, whatever it is. It's to me, I've never been in a position where I felt like they were shorthanded or that I was concerned. And I've never sat in a visitation concerned, except for when they forced me to sit in the room with the guard that assaulted my son and used excessive force, and then they, falsified documents and covered things up and, did their little IG investigation where they investigate themselves and find that there's no wrongdoing and the force was necessary, all that crap. So at the end of the day, really?
I know. It just doesn't make any sense. It boggles my mind that we just let this stuff continue and do nothing about it. I mean, I'm just like, oh my God, I just can't believe this.
Well, and this is the thing, they're going to have to change paperwork and processing because they're saying they'll do case by case. And this is what I keep saying. That is going to create a nightmare because you can't even get a simple medical document signed without going through this, that, and the other, and not today, and not right now, and not on this shift, and nobody's got time. And, okay, so can I speak to someone in charge? Okay, so now you're waiting, and they're calling, and they're nice, and everybody's going to be nice to you, and then somebody's going to slip a snide remark in there, well, he's a grown-ass man, or just dumb stuff. I mean, you go through this. Imagine the case by case when everything is actually done guard by guard, depending on who the guard is and what the situation is, will the outcome actually be? Are you going to get a case by case acknowledgement that, okay, I'm somebody here from out of town. I don't come to your state often. I want to see my cousin, and you can't even visit them, and then the cousin goes home crying from spring break because they didn't get to see their cousin. This is a part of my life. So I get it. How the heck are we going to get a case by case if we can't even get one now prior to the change?
I know. It's sticky.
Let's create another process that we're going to get them to run in circles around because we're all just these little gerbils on a spinning wheel or whatever, just going round and round in circles.
and I heard today, but I don't know how true this is, and if it's true, it's really messed up, because DOC has, cut the budget, but I hear all the officers are getting new computers.
I heard iPads.
I heard computers.
Or read. I read or heard. I thought I read iPads, or laptops.
Yeah.
I think it was iPads that I read.
Laptops.
But,
laptops. It was laptops.
Laptops. It's neither here nor there. I mean, Netley, you're wanting to give them new. Okay, yeah, maybe they do. Maybe it's time for that. Maybe it's in the budget. But when you've got other issues that are not being taken care of, like your medical and and you're cutting this and you're cutting that, really, you're going to throw in our face you're getting all these new fancy gadgets.
Mm-hmm. For what reason do they need them, really?
That's my
question.
What
do they need them for?
When I can do everything from my cell phone, okay, so it's private, they need the iPad or they need a laptop, okay, they've got them. Maintenance them. I work in a capacity where, I get frustrated with, just today I was frustrated because, our systems are, they're dated. I'm not going to complain because they actually do work, but it's like any other technology. You're going to run into issues. It's going to be an irritant. What makes somebody think that they should put money into a budget for new iPads right now when you've got bigger issues on your plate?
Yeah, I don't understand that myself. It's just mind-boggling.
It's typical money mismanagement.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Why don't you call it, stealing? Because that's what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. Well, we talk about that one.
I'm sorry, but, that's the reality of it.
It is. I agree.
I'm trying to remember what it's called. No, it's not extortion, but however, that's going on, too. Money laundering. Is that's the word I'm looking for?
Is it the word you're looking for?
I don't know. I don't know what when you're doing illegal stuff with somebody else's money, what's that called?
Theft, money laundering. There's all kinds of words that you could use, but I get your gist.
You're a criminal.
Criminal. It's crazy because I see. It's sad because I've seen a change from my childhood to my adulthood. I used to see police officers as officer-friendly, and now I see them as somebody that I fear, like somebody that scares me, like the boogeyman. And that's crazy because now kids, I couldn't imagine being a kid today trying to sit in a schoolhouse and try to do my work when things like that happen in society right now, like the shootings in the schools. I mean, the world is getting worse and worse.
It's
not just the prison system; it's everything.
Everywhere, because our society has let it happen. We have sat back and said, "Well, let the next generation handle it. Let this person handle it," and nobody's handled it.
Mhm.
Because I can remember as a kid, I could walk the streets. I didn't have to worry.
Right.
I mean, back in my day,
we slept outside in tents in our front yard.
Back in my day, the worst thing that happened you got the crabs, or what was the other thing? That was the worst shit that could happen to you.
They didn't kill you, did they?
What did you say, Melissa?
I said the crabs didn't kill you, did they?
No, they didn't.
Uncomfortable, from what I understand. I had a friend who did that. I mean, I personally didn't have that problem, but I know people that have.
I know that's right. Hey, Melissa, I've been seeing a lot more on Arizona and out that way, and I think I saw with all these border, was it Arizona where there were border patrol people just getting shot up like 8 or something?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, what is going on the border?
That's our border. Hello. Here on the West, that's our biggest problem. That's where all the drugs are coming from. It's not just the drugs. It's people, too. Human trafficking. And the worst thing of all, terrorists are coming in through our border now. So it's a very dangerous game. We had the occurrence of Fast and Furious. I don't know if you recall that. A whole bunch of guns from the government disappeared. They just disappeared. And they're coming back across the border. We've been documenting this for quite some time. The serial numbers match. They're found in the hands of the drug cartel. And the drug cartel is inside the prison system. Make no mistake about that. And,
right. I know.
Yeah, so with that going on and the racial tensions and the heat, I just wanted to also point out we've got issues here. The food is so bad in all the prisons. I don't know what it is in your prisons, but here they want $2 for a box full of water. So when the water's shut down for days, $2 a bottle. The commissary prices, I'm told, they're making an absolute killing. This is another form of robbery. They're feeding them horrible, rotten food that they cannot eat without getting sick. And, of course...
And now they want prisoners to buy tablets. Oh, boy.
No, they want the families to buy tablets.
Right. Yeah, the money is coming from the families. Yeah.
when you have somebody that's in prison, you're in prison too, whether you know it or not.
I hear you.
They control you.
Yeah.
Not only
they own you.
Control them. Yeah.
They own you.
Can I please say something, lady?
Wait a minute. I had two people tell me that they have been told they are DOC's property. No human being should be anybody's property. A dog's not even your property.
I think I've heard that statement before.
Yeah,
I think I've heard that statement myself directly.
Melissa, I'm sorry.
What were you going to say, Melissa?
Okay. There is one company, GEO. Let's remember them, please, because they're the ones in charge of this whole conglomerate. They contribute to Donald Trump. They are selling stock. The stock is going at today. It's even gone up by the end of the day. It's over $30 a share. Okay, as long as prisons are making money, they're selling stock. Okay, I have an idea what would happen if some of us families got together. If we're able to buy this stock, I'm still thinking about this, but I'm just so angry that they're selling stock, and guess who is buying this stock? It is the judges, it is the prosecutors, it is the senators, it's everybody involved in the private prison.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
The company is GEO. They're going to be in charge of the tablets, of all the communication nationwide. It's starting now. So if we follow GEO and we start to do research about what they're doing, I say we might be onto something. What say you two?
I'm thinking I need money to buy some of that stock. That's what I'm
I hear you, Debbie. What about these lynchings that's going on in the news? Have you guys seen that? Where there's been different lynchings going on. They've all been pretty much adults. Now there is an 8-year-old boy that lived. He didn't die. They saved his life at the hospital.
I saw his neck. What is that all about?
It was teens that did this to an 8-year-old child. That, I mean, like I said, it's getting worse. And, I mean, how does a group of teenagers come up with the thought that it's okay to hang an 8-year-old biracial child?
Well,
white teens did this.
Yeah, they took the prayer out of school. They took the Pledge of Allegiance
There
away.
you go. You hit it, Debbie.
I mean, where do you think that all, like, you can't hit your kid now? There's a such thing as punishing your kid and abusing your child. There's a big difference. Big, big difference. And now if you try to touch a child, I'm calling DCF, and then you have DCF up your butt. I mean,
then you're their slave.
Right. So what does society think was going to happen with all this stuff going on? You gave the children too much rights. Now look at them. They're out of control.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
So what are we leaving for our grandkids and our great-grandkids? And
that's what's scary.
About that down the road. Nothing. Because they're all going to be in jail or prison.
Yeah, it's, I watched the Hunger Games, and I would like to get everyone to look at the Hunger Games because it's really not that far off from our sick, crazy society. I was dumbfounded, and I did a marathon of the Hunger Games, and I found out other people at my job did the same thing, or they recorded them because all 4 of the movies played over this past weekend on, I don't know, FX or TNT or whatever, but I don't know if either of you ladies have seen it, but it is something else. I'm not one for blood and gore or scary, but action, drama, intensity, I love it, and this blew my mind. It blew my mind because I compared it to, okay, this is not that far off from reality. It is fictional, but there is some truth to this crazy mess that's going on where you got the Capitol and then you got your different little cities. What were they called? I forget. But I mean, it was just crazy how close to reality that fictional saga of 4 movies actually was.
Well, think about the Twilight Zone because I feel like I'm in it.
I remember watching the black and white repeats. You are right.
Think about that. It's like being in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Are we stuck in the 3rd dimension?
I guess we are. I mean, think about it. Oh, y'all need to watch this. It's on Netflix, and it's called Surviving Prison.
Okay.
It's amazing. People need to watch that.
So what is, because I remember the last thing I watched, I don't like watching a lot of prison stuff myself, but I did watch a lot on the Khalif, I think that's how you said his name, the young man who was in New York or Rikers over the backpack thing, and then he eventually committed suicide after he was finally released like 3 years later. So this, what you're talking about, how to survive prison?
Yeah, it tells you in the beginning, the officers are not your friend. If you get picked up, do not talk. Just say, I want a lawyer. I want a lawyer. You do not say anything else, no matter how they harass you, no matter what they do. You just always say, I want a lawyer. You do not. They are not your friend. The prosecutor's not your friend. Your public defender is not your friend.
They're not trying to make a good deal for you.
Right, because they're getting paid by the judges who want to put their butt in jail or in prison. Then it goes on to extortion. When you get sent to prison and you're a new guy and they have like certain gangs or certain people in there have got life, they don't care. So they will say, you have to pay this much money to be safe. If you don't pay it, you will get slashed across the face, or you will die, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times, somebody will slash them across the face for a box or a bag, whatever comes in, of them Roman noodles.
Oh, my God, over food.
Right. 3 of those noodles.
Melissa, isn't this the type of stuff that's in your blog?
Absolutely.
You go right to it, like this movie sounds like it is.
Yeah. There are a lot of videos on YouTube from people that have survived prison, that have excellent advice as far as what to do. For instance, if you are in danger of being stabbed, you can take books and tape them around your middle. You can stick them inside your underwear, inside your clothing when you're walking, so you protect your vital organs. There's all kinds of advice out there for how to survive these things. But the point is that this is more proof that they're not feeding these prisoners. They're wanting us families. I have a woman whose son is locked up in Arizona. She told me yesterday that she spends $125 a month for her son to eat in there, and it's not enough. They buy secure packs. His father has even decided to help out, which is a miracle because the man was never there, but now he's sending secure packs. It's bad. The food situation is very bad.
Well, we're not
and
even
Debbie is right. They are slashing for food.
Yeah, Debbie, I heard you say we're not even getting the secure packs. That's what's going on in Florida, Melissa. We're not even in a contract with them.
I can't get them for my son either. I have to pay for commissary. Some prisons in Arizona, you will get the secure packs, but the facility where my son is located, no. So it varies from prison to prison. It seems to me as far as those private prisons go, they'll let the family spend as much money as they want.
Well, that's what they want.
Remember, a portion of everything goes in their pocket, and if you want it back, start buying up that stock.
There you go.
Start demanding.
Okay, Debbie, what's that movie you were talking about, or is it a documentary?
It's a documentary, and it's called Surviving Prison. And
do you know what network that's on, or
no,
is it
it's on
YouTube?
Netflix.
Okay. We need to teach this to our kids. They need to know.
Yes.
I hope people are listening. I hope people understand this is where we're at in this day and age. Never do I think any one of us on this call right now, I don't think any of us ever imagined 25 years ago that we would ever see our child, or 15 or 10 years ago, that we would see our child where they are today. Am I correct?
That's right.
And there's no handbook. There's corruption. It's crazy. It's ugly. It's sickening. I know that society has an opinion on people in prison. What you need to do is get your head out your ass and find out some facts, because you really technically do not really know what's going on in there. Like I've said before, when my nephew was locked up, he would write me, but he was in Illinois or Iowa, and I was down here in Florida, and we would write. I had no idea. None. And I didn't seek information either. So I went through it with my nephew and didn't understand, didn't comprehend. He didn't tell me. I don't know how bad it was when he was in. But now I have gone through, and I know, Debbie, you have, and I know, Melissa, we've all have gone through our own private little hell of situation after situation after situation that is just, and then we're left like, I don't know how I can breathe. I don't know how I can make it. This is crazy. This is surreal. This is unreal. This is uncalled for. It's sickening. Something's got to give. Something's got to change. I'm running in circles. How do I get out of it? I don't know how. So I will say, as I always say, I take it to God, and everything that I do is always going to be about our Father's business. Debbie, I know CBI has a mission, and what I want people to understand is that mission, and understand that it's not all for one and one for all. It's we are the people. You're trying to unite groups and organizations, and I understand you can't even, I know that you've been really, really working hard on trying to get people to unite with those groups and orgs, and then when it comes down to it, it seems like they're not stepping up to the plate when it's go time.
Nope, not at all.
It's all on the computer or Facebook and your group talks. And, yeah, there's prayer groups. That's what they're there for. They send out cards and letters. But we've got groups out there that actually are causes for the air conditioning, the heat, the food, the J-Pay, the money, the retaliation. You've got groups for every problem, and they won't come together. There's infighting.
They just want to sit on that computer and complain and complain. Instead of complaining, do something about it. Because if you don't do nothing about it, it's going to get worse.
Exposing, like you say, Melissa.
Right.
Yes,
key. Expose. If you're going to sit on a computer and not do nothing but sit on the computer and complain, instead of just complaining, expose it, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, you could do that from the computer. It's the share, in case anybody's interested. You just share. You share it. Share everything.
Share it.
Especially about the corruption.
We've got a phrase, sharing is caring, when it's something, when you see people like friends of mine that have needed help for a funeral, someone has passed away unexpectedly, and you got the GoFundMes. And so when you have someone sharing it, and everybody else send it to the friends and family and say sharing is caring. If you can't do nothing at all, if you can't donate, at least share, right?
What's
sharing is caring. So that's exactly what you're saying. Share it. Expose it.
Think about it. You're going to keep sharing and sharing, but nobody's doing anything but sharing it.
And that's going in circles. But then you do got those people that we had somebody donate $5,000 for a woman who died young. She was in her mid-40s and passed away and had kids, and somebody donated $5,000 because that's what the GoFundMe requested.
I understand that, but how? Right, I understand that, but how are you going to get money for your prison or your inmate? He ain't going to do it. And let me clear something up about federal prisons. A federal prison, because I know somebody who was in a federal prison, and she actually got to say where she wanted to go, and her family would visit her on weekends and have dinner with her. It's a country club, people. White-collar crime. Really? Put some of them in the prisons and see how fast that rocks and rolls.
Right.
The state owns them. The state shouldn't own anybody.
No, the ownership went out with slavery, so that's the end of that. And wash your hands and walk away and move on. So the Amendment 8, we've talked a lot about Amendment 8, and we've gone back and forth between us, Debbie. Let's touch on that because we do have a little bit more time. Cruel and unusual punishment. I know any state that has the death penalty has rules they have to follow so that they don't go against the Eighth Amendment. That is enforced even in the death penalty. And in the Eighth Amendment, it talks about cruel and unusual punishment. Let's touch on that. You want to touch on that?
Well, I was told when you go to prison, you lose that. I don't understand
I heard that too.
Because if you look up the United Nations, and I believe it's Amendment 4, and it says the same thing, and that also, it's not other countries, it's also in the United States.
Right.
If you read it, it's United States too. They cannot do what they're doing, but yet they're doing it because everybody's turning their back and letting it happen. What do you think these senators and everybody are doing? They're lining their pockets. Is anybody helping? No, nobody's helping because they're not pushed to help. Once you push and you push, you'll get what you want. What are you going to wait until it's pushed and all this riot happens and people are killed? Is that what everybody's waiting for? Because I'm not looking forward to it.
I'm not either, because it's bad enough. You've got people that belong in prison and need to go to prison and be in prison. That means there are bad people in the world. I'm not saying that everybody's innocent. I know that there are good prisoners that did not commit a crime, and I also know that there are bad guards that should be inmates. So
that
is the way it is right now. And unfortunately, it seems like the bad guys on the wrong side of the fence are winning, because the ones that should be behind the wall and behind those barbed wire are actually guards, and they're doing unspeakable, grimy things.
Now, like my son said to me when he first went to prison, he said, Mom, seriously, I went to prison for a reason. They had a reason, so they said. But I'm sitting here watching guards do it all day long, and nothing happens to them. What's that teaching the inmates in there?
Absolutely. Melissa, before we go, do you have anything you want to add that we may not have covered yet? We've got about 2 minutes out.
Well, yes, a few things have come to my attention recently. Maybe we can talk about this next time. There are ex-inmates out there that are going before Congress trying to get things passed. And I'm very interested in that. I'd also like to remind people that the company in charge of these private prisons, the one you need to worry about is GEO. Let's start keeping an eye on them and expose their financial doings and who is investing in this so that the public can become aware. It's all about money. Those that can be helped need to be put somewhere else.
Since the beginning of the times, don't you think everything's been about money?
Yes.
Yeah. At the end of the day.
Also, I like to add, our senators and representatives and our governor and whoever, they all need to be drug tested, seriously.
Oh, what a thought. What a concept.
Seriously, they need to be drug tested, because I think half of them are on drugs, and they don't. That's why they're turning their back. They don't care. They're on drugs. What do they care?
Right. Well, listen, we're about a minute out, so let's let Dawn behind the walls know again how much we appreciate her production ability and putting us on and always being such a great lady to us. We love her to death.
Yes, we
thank
do.
you, Melissa, out there, CBI Arizona, your sector out there. Keep it going. Your Facebook page. People can reach you at, what is it, www.azcbi.org. Debbie, I know you give out your number. I'm going to let you do your closing, girl.
CBI is on it. We want to investigate. We want to do what we have to do. You can reach me at Debbie Sapp at uscbi.org, or you can call me at 352-277-9090. We'll help you if we can.
Okay, and I think that does it. Thanks, ladies. Until next time. Thank you again,
You're
Dawn
welcome.
Behind the Walls.